and I'll call for it in a minute or two. And, you know, when I say something, you know, you'll know when. All right, so let's see, there are 8 of you, and I believe we are now down to 11. So I'm missing 3 of you, but that's Brian, we know, is on vacation. Someone else may be joining us, but we'll see. All right, so welcome, 7:35. This is our second meeting of the night. I am going to share my screen, and then we will be mad at Brian. Okay, that's why it's coming up. So I'm going to my 735 shell, which is yours as well. And I just want to remind you, please, folks, and this is something that may be confusing. When you go to TaskStream to turn in something for me, I don't care if you put it in task 1, 2, or 3. Wherever you put it, I'm going to see it. I'm going to grade it. But the important thing is that I want you to do what the task that I'm asking you to do and not what the task says in TaskStream. So wherever you put it, I'm fine. Not a problem. So our Zoom classes, this is our second one of 3. And tonight we're going to be talking about chapter 2, putting it all together. When we meet on the 29th, which gives y'all a long time, we're going to start, and then just note, we're going to meet at 5 that night. And then we're going to start working on chapter 1. My real intent is by the time you get to me in 738 and 739, I really do think if we move along as well as I think you all are capable, as I know you all are capable, we can really have chapters 1 and 2 done by the time you get to 738. So that's my plan, because you'll see next semester, I'm planning on you writing chapter 1. This semester, I'm planning on you writing chapter 2. And I don't mean perfect chapter 2, but I do mean more the outline of chapter 2. I want to see the body of chapter 2. I want to see you really putting some time and effort into it and writing it. And what I'm also doing, folks, and I'll be honest with you, I am locking you into this, because I am sure 1 or 2 of you are going to come to me a little bit later on and say, I want to change my topic. And I'm going to say, what? You are not changing your topic. You can fine tune your topic, but you are not going to change it. Because at that point, if you change your topic, then everything we're doing so far is kind of, you're wasting your time unless your topic is very similar to what we're going to do. So I am not in favor of you changing your topic. I want you to lock in your topic. I want you to lock in those research questions. I want you to lock in your methodology. I want you to lock in how you're going to conduct it. Because the next course you take, the research course, I want you to pay attention, because I can't help you very much as a coach talking about F-test, ANOVAs. That's just not what I'm trained to do. So you need to pay attention when you get into that. But you got to have an example. When you start that course next semester, you need to be thinking, I know exactly what I want to do. I want to do a survey of teachers. And here's how, and then when you're taking that course, you zero in on what a survey entails. How do you report out surveys? What do they look like? Because when you get to writing chapter 4, that's what it's going to be. And chapter 3 is going to be you describing what you're going to do. And chapter 4 is you're describing what happened when you did it. So pay attention next semester, which is why I leave chapter 3 for us to discuss when we have each other in 738. All right, so that's our class dates, our course assignments. I don't think there's anything. Oh yeah, it is. It's just explaining what you are having to do in TaskStream. So you've already done this. TaskStream looks good. Don't worry about it. If you're still refining this, your topic you should not be refining, but everything else we can refine your questions. And I promise you, we will work on this. But if you get your questions down and you get a feel for how you're going to report it, I promise you, you are 50% ahead of everybody else who's on your path with you in other courses. Because that's the bulk of what you're going to be doing in chapter 3 and in chapter 4. Chapter 3, you're going to be describing what you're going to do. Chapter 4, you're describing what the results were. And chapter 5 is just a free for all about what you found out, what you got to do differently, what you got a recommendation. So it's awesome. And chapter 2 is kind of like a disconnect. It's like you're doing your homework before you get to the problem. All right, so task 1, you've already done that. So here we go with the draft of chapter 2. Now I'm going to send you something else as well, but this is pretty much what I want you to do. And let me just say, I am looking for this by the end of this semester, which is sometime in July. I'm not sure when the semester ends, but sometime in July, when does this semester? Because August is the beginning of the next semester. Oh, the last day of classes is July 26th. I really do want you to have something you feel good about with chapter 2. So every weekend or every night or whatever, you should sit down and start writing, because it'll come easy. I mean, you really will be surprised at how quickly, once you put your thoughts, once you have an outline of something to put it in, it's going to flow. Because all of you've done research. If you're in the EDLS program, you've done a lot of research, and you will do more. So here's what I am looking for, and I'm sorry this is off a little bit, but when you start writing chapter 2, and I'm looking for about 20 pages. I'm sorry, but you can do it. That's what a chapter 2 looks like. It's the bulk of it. But you'll be surprised once you get going and you've got about 50 references. Oh my gosh, by the time you explain in your own words what the references are saying, you really are going to get it done. All right, so in a chapter, am I record? Oh, Brian is at the beach. So we are recording for Brian. Brian, if I had a message, my message to you would be have fun. Does anybody have a message for Brian? All right, Brian, I hope you can see. There are some messages for you as we...
We're holding his charger captive.
All right, awesome. So Brian's at the beach. He'll be back, but he wanted to let you know. So that's why I'm recording it. So I will send him the recording. If anybody else wants a copy of it, just let me know. I'll send it to you individually. So chapter 2, the draft of chapter 2, and I really am serious about this. Please don't send me an outline, because you've already done that. What I'm looking for you is to start putting the meat and potatoes into what a chapter 2 looks like. Because I promise you, if we do what you want to do with chapter 2 this semester, we can put it aside and just set it aside for a while. And you will run across an interesting article, or you'll hear something and you'll say, oh, I need that in chapter 2. But if you feel good at the end of July that chapter 2 looks pretty good, 90% there, you are way, way in good shape. All right? Because you'll go back, you'll refine it, and as you do, you'll find different reasons to add to it. But I want us by the end of July, and what I want you to turn into task stream is a pretty good. I feel pretty good about chapter 2, Stone. And I promise you, what you'll do when it gets there, I'll review it and I'll give you some feedback. And I'll say, hey, you need to add a more current research. Have you looked at this, that, and the other? But here's what a chapter 2 looks like. And here's what I want from you. And these page numbers, and these are pages, by the way, these page numbers are just guidelines. You feel free to go more, go less, not a lot less, but go. The first thing you want to do is your introduction. So let me talk about what an introduction to chapter 2 looks like. An introduction to chapter 2 is you just stating the problem. Here's why I chose to talk about the mental health of teachers during a pandemic. We've been living through one. I mean, the introduction is basically where you're introducing your topic and you're telling me why you chose that topic. What is the significance of that topic to you? Why did you choose mental health out of all the other fields that were out there? Why mental health? Siobhan, why mental health? So your introduction is sort of just an overview of here's why I chose it. So this is why it's important to me. Here's what I'm going to do. So even in the introduction, you're kind of introducing, I want to study it because we're living in a pandemic. Teachers, my own personal experience, and teachers are, I've seen it. I've lived through it. Then you talk about your theoretical framework. Now remember, and all of you should be doing some research on what your theoretical framework will be, because your theoretical framework, does anybody remember my quick little easy way to remember what a theoretical framework is?
Where you would find it in the library.
Exactly. In what section of the Gardner Webb Library are they going to put your dissertation? Is it going to be on constructivist theory and school management? Is it going to be mental health theory? What shelf will your book go on? Because within that shelf, there'll be other books, and those books are related to that topic. So you're trying to find a shelf to put your book on. So that's your conceptual framework. That's kind of like, here's where this fits in. All right. And the best way to do this, folks, is to look at your topic, go into Gardner Webb's database of dissertations and find somebody's dissertation that's very similar to yours, and then go to chapter 2 and see what their conceptual framework is. And see if go to a couple of them and see if that'll work for you. Now, caution, you do not copy verbatim their conceptual framework. You just simply find out what it is, find out their references that they use, and then pull those references and make it yours in your own words, what it means to you. So that's the conceptual framework, and that's the theory that you're going to be addressing and adding to. So if you are doing mental health, then your conceptual framework is going to be something in the field of mental health about how the effect, and I don't know if it's a mental health of teachers and mental health of students, but go and look and see what someone's done and then try to fit it in. Now, the important thing here, and it's not on my list, but let me add it right now, but it'll go away. No, I got to edit. Oh, I can do this. Oh, yes, I can. Am I showing my screen, by the way? Okay, good. Last week when I was talking to a class, I talked for 20 minutes. And they still did not tell me that I was not sharing my screen.
That's a pet peeve of mine. My students do it all the time.
Oh, and I'm terrible about it. All right, under your conceptual framework, you are talking about where this is going to fit in on the shelf. Just remember, I need at least 3 most current research. RESEEARCH. So in other words, you're trying to say, can't type and talk. You need to have something very current here. So in that conceptual framework, you want to pull out some really current research that's the most current thing about that particular field that you're adding to. All right. And remember earlier on, and you saved this, I hope, when you were doing your topic and you haven't changed your topic, you did kind of a diagram. I called it not a fish diagram, but some kind of diagram where you kind of broke down your topic into concepts. Well, this is where this pays off. So if your first concept is teacher learning theory, then your that's when you're going to create your chapter 2, doing your research on that particular topic. And you start from the oldest research to the newest. So I'm going to have a couple of pages on research topic 1, my concept. And remember, we get concepts by breaking down the title of our dissertation, because that's where you go and look at the concepts that add to your framework. All right. And then you're going to do that for the second one. Then you're going to do it for the third one, where you're going to be talking about the research. This is where you have a lot of references, a lot of things to put in the appendix. And this is where you will follow APA style 7 to the letter right here. And then one of the next things you're going to do? Let me get out of this. Let me get it back to where it's the full screen. So, all right, so after that, you are going to ask the question. You're going to answer the question. Remember, you talked about why you're doing this, and then you talked about all the research that's preceded you. So then the next thing you want to talk about is, what are you adding? What is it that you didn't see in the research that you're going to get to add? Something unique, something personalized to North Carolina, something that's, maybe has been understudied, because almost everything's been studied. But what you're looking for here is what's been understudied or underreported that you could add to it. All right. Then you're going to write your research questions. And for each one of the research questions, you're going to go into a little bit of detail about what you're trying to find out and how it relates to the theoretical framework. That should be easy, because your research questions are related to those concepts of what you're trying to get through. And by the way, before July 27th, I will be more than glad to look at anything you send me to see if you're getting it right, because you will. And then the last thing, you're going to kind of summarize what you